This game is probably niche enough that probably no one's gonna care about what I have to say in this video, but I love birds and it's my channel, so I get to do whatever I want. Today I want to talk about Feather. I got this game recently because my good friend Damien recommended it to me. It's a very, very basic, simple game where you play as a bird and you fly around, and it's meant to be kind of therapeutic and stress relieving and that kind of thing. There are no goals, and there's nothing really specifically to do in the game, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with it, but I wanted to kind of give a little bit of my thoughts and opinions and maybe a little bit of a review for this game. Mostly stuff that I would love to see in this game or a version of this game. I can understand why it's so basic and bare bones because they wanted to make it therapeutic and stress relieving and have you not have to worry about any kind of goals or anything like that. But it kind of fails at being therapeutic and stress relieving when it's kind of difficult to fly through these different triangles and circles and stuff like that to change the music or change your bird. Because in this game, you control the bird, and the only way to switch your bird is to find these different triangles that are hidden across the map and fly through it. They're usually really low to the ground, or like they're not that big, so it's kind of hard to go perfectly through it. You hit the triangle a ton whenever you're trying to do this, at least when you're first starting out, of course. And so I think a way to fix this would be to just have it simple where once you fly through it for the first time, you unlock that bird and you have the ability to switch to it whenever you want to. The triangles remain there and you can still swap to that bird using the triangles, but perhaps there could be some kind of menu whenever I press pause that allows me to switch between different birds that I've unlocked by flying through the little triangle things. That's just one of the simple, small changes that wouldn't really hurt the therapeutic or stress relieving nature of it, but also would greatly improve the game. Another thing too that I think would be really awesome for the game that again wouldn't hurt the therapeutic or stress relieving nature of the game, the no goals nature of the game or anything like that, is the ability to customize birds, making your own custom bird. I think that would be awesome. And again, it wouldn't really hurt the nature of the game other than the fact that it probably would be hard to implement something like that into a game like this. I mean, it's not something like Ponytown that the mechanics aren't already built up for it, but I think it would be awesome if you could just come on here and just customize your bird, give it some different colors, and you get to choose what type of bird you want. So if I want to be an owl, I can choose to be an owl, or if I want to be a parakeet, I can do that, or different kinds of parrots and all these other different birds. Maybe a blue jay. Maybe I want to turn into a blue jay, and the game doesn't offer a blue jay, but it offers customization that will allow me to basically be a blue jay, right? And I think just this small change here, which is technically kind of a big change, would greatly improve the game as well and definitely increase the longevity of it, because I've played it for probably a ridiculous amount of hours now, which is kind of weird because there's not much to do in the game. But I've probably played it for a ridiculous amount of hours now, and I think I would play it for many, 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 many months if I could just customize birds, because I would go on there all the time just to customize birds. Kind of like how a lot of people go into Ponytown just to customize ponies and characters and stuff. Another thing, too, is, and this is where things start to kind of change the game as a whole, and that's like a map or something. I think if you press pause, you could press something that says map, and it kind of shows you a map of the area that you're currently in. There are two maps in this game. You have to fly through a cave and go through this complicated mess, and then you can stumble upon this portal that will teleport you to another map. It's an entirely different map. It's honestly probably a better map in my opinion, but that's besides the point. And so if I'm in the first map, you know, the starting area or whatever like that, and I press pause, I should get a map of that area so I can see certain things or something. Maybe where all the triangles are, maybe they're you know, posted on that or something, so I can know where to go to get to those triangles so I can get those birds or something. That would kind of help, just because like it's kind of hard to find all of them, and if you don't know or if you forget where a certain bird is and you really want to be that bird for this relaxing session, it could be annoying to look for it or whatever. And then if you go to the other map, of course, it shows you the same thing, but for that map only. It doesn't show you both maps at any time. Another thing that could be really interesting for this too, and this is kind of maybe going a little bit overboard, but procedurally generated maps would be pretty cool too. Something like how like Minecraft does it, where every single time you load up the world, or a different world, I should say, every single time you open up a different world, the map is entirely different. Things are in weird places. That could be kind of fun for something like this. And maybe you could just, like, whenever you hit start, maybe you could load up the world that you were in before, or maybe you could save the world somehow so you could go back to that specific one or something. And that could be kind of a fun thing in of its own, especially since there is some multiplayer in this game and you can just kind of suddenly appear in someone else's world. I think that could be fun. Perhaps whenever you start the game, there's like a, whatever happens and now you're in, some random world or something, and perhaps you're in the same world as someone else. If nothing else, besides procedurally generated maps, maybe have like something like 20 different maps or something, procedurally generate them, and then just have them be the fixed maps. So there's only 20 maps that you can go to. Whenever you launch a game, it just loads a random set out of those or something. 20 different seeds, I guess you could call them. And another thing too, and they kind of already have this because the birds are kind of hidden. That like I said before, they're the little triangle things, and they're kind of all over the place, and it's kind of hard to find them. But hidden collectibles could be pretty cool for this game as well. Something like pine cones. Like there's an area in the game where there's pine cones on a tree. Maybe one of them is like golden or something, and if you knock it off the tree, you collect it or something. Something simple like that, and maybe it doesn't do anything special, but maybe it inflates an artificial number, like how in Ponytown you collect clovers and all it does is inflate an artificial number and it's nothing special. Something like that could be kind of cool. They could randomly spawn and they can have different rarities and stuff like that. There could be other things too, like whenever you dive in the water to collect fish, perhaps sometimes you get something rare like a goldfish or something. Well, I mean, you know what I mean, like a solid goldfish, not like a goldfish fish, but anyway, hidden collectibles like that could be kind of cool, even if all it does is inflate an artificial number, because then you could kind of brag to your friends that, hey, I've collected this many golden fish, how many have you collected? And they're like, I've only collected 2, and they're like, ha, you fool, I've collected 420 of them. Get on my level, noob, or something like that, right? And it could be its own little funny, banter type situation there. But anyway, another thing too, and this is something that doesn't change the game, it's not a new mechanic or anything else like that, but being able to land on anything and also making landing a lot easier. In this game, you can actually land your bird onto certain positions and places and stuff, but it seems inconsistent where you can land, or maybe it's just that difficult that it seems like certain places are impossible. But I definitely think that you should be able to land basically anywhere other than, like, maybe the water or something like that, right? I think you should be able to land on basically anything, and I think it should also be a lot easier to do so, because how it is currently, it's kind of difficult to land on something. It could be something kind of how No Man's Sky does it, where once you're at a certain amount of speed, you're kind of slow and you're low enough to the ground, maybe you can press a certain button and it will suddenly land you on that thing that you're above or something. Kind of how No Man's Sky does it. It kind of automates it for you. I think that could be a super simple and very beneficial mechanic, because again, it's meant to be stress relieving, no worries, nothing like that. But if I, for whatever reason, am going through this and I want to land and I'm continuously failing at landing on this position that I really want to land on, that's going to start stressing me out and freaking me out, and not really freaking me out, but really, really, really annoying. It's going to be really, really annoying, and stuff like that. And finally, I think they should, be more consistent with stuff like whenever you crash into things. Whenever you crash into things in this game, it kind of resets your position. It kind of goes back in time or something weird like that, and you kind of back up or whatever. It's kind of weird. It's almost hard to explain, but it's very inconsistent how far away you go back whenever you crash into something. I think it should be way more consistent. I think you should also go back probably a way further than you normally do. That way, because what typically happens is you crash into something and it resets you like 2 inches away from it, and it's impossible to react in time, and then boom, you crash into it again, and that just happens over and over again. And also, I guess one final thing is that they should do more things to do. Things like proper races or something like that, right? Maybe some form of obstacle courses or something. Maybe you could even make these obstacle courses or these racetracks or something like that yourself. And I think that could be fun too, because again, it has a multiplayer aspect to this game where people can hop into your world or whatever, and you can play with them and interact with them and stuff. Probably should be more interactions between players as well, but just these simple things right here would definitely make that game worth its price, because it has like a $15 price. I got it for like $9.99 or something like that when it went on sale. Personally, in my opinion, this game is not worth its price, but let me know what you think this game should be priced at. I personally think it should be closer to like $2.99 or maybe even $4.99 or something if you want to be that much towards it. But if you add all these things, I think it could be worth that $9.99 price or that $15 price or whatever it was, because this game is a little bit expensive for what it is because it's so bare bones and there's not really much to do. There's not much going on, and I get that that's kind of the purpose of it, the point of it, but it's really weird. It feels very weird that they're charging this much for something that you basically do nothing in but fly around. And while it is stress relieving and it does what it's supposed to do, it's still very bare bones and it's way too expensive for what it is. But that's my thoughts on it. Things that I would love to see added to this game. Again, like I said before, ability to swap birds on the fly, maybe customize birds, procedurally generated maps or something, hidden collectibles, land on anything and make landing in general easier, because that is one of the biggest issues that I have with this game. Another thing with that too is like maybe when you do land, maybe you can kind of hop around a little bit, so you can kind of not walk but kind of hop a little bit, and that might be fun. But yeah, things to do like proper races, maybe obstacle courses or something like that, and be more consistent when resetting yourself when you crash into stuff. Please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that, because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.